And now, through the joint efforts of Babylon Theater, Surprise University, and the NBC Associated Media Companies, we bring you another reading from the book A Man Called Oval, The Early Days of the Church of Golly, sponsored by Axel Mundi Press, and read by Greg.
Robertson's problem, said John, is that he isn't funny. He isn't a comedian like Johnny Carson. Good point. I should use humor as much as I can. That shouldn't be too difficult for you, I said. Isn't it weird, said Gal. Oral Roberts, Pat Robertson, and now Oval Rubber. And rubber used to be robber, you told me, right, dear? That's what I heard. What would you call it, said John. The surprise show? The Oval Rubber show? Gollyites tonight, said Bev. That's pretty clever if I do say so. The By Golly show, said Gal. Wait, said Oval. The By Golly show. I think that's it. How did you come up with that? Well, that seems to be the phrase we use the most around here, by golly. I like it, I said. Good one, Gal. Maybe Gal could be your co-host. Possibly. He may look too young, though. Maybe you can do commercial spots or something. How about John, said Bev. I doubt it, said John. I've never been in showbiz. Well, you'll find the person, I said. I did not know how right I was. There was no TV guide, so Gal began flipping through the channels, of which there were about 7, with the remote control. It was a little after 10 o'clock. 3 of the channels were doing local news shows. One, to our surprise, was the 700 Club with Pat Robertson. Gal opened one of 2 boxes of donuts he had bought at the gas station next to the diner. We ate these and watched the show for a while, everyone making comments on the format, the stage set, the co-host, an African-American named Ben Kinchlow, and Robertson's personal style, which Galvin described as a cross between a police chief and an underworld godfather. Whatever you do, said John to Oval, please don't wear a suit like that on your show. I won't, as a personal favor to you. Does anybody want to do another bowl? Asked Gal. What if Pat Robertson sees us? Said Bev. You better be careful. Now you're being paranoid, said John. Pat can't really see us, can he? I don't know. He looks pretty intense when he stares into the camera, I said. He may have acquired some special powers from Jesus or something. More likely you'd better be careful around Oval, I said. He's been talking lately about a drug-free company. Well, I'm leaving then, said Gal. She's exaggerating, said Oval. I just said we might have to cut back and be more discreet about it. Might not be able to find anything in Houston, Kansas anyway, said John. And if you can, I doubt if it is as good as what you've been used to. That's depressing, said Gal. Stop it. Our Galvin is a sensitive boy, I said. I could tell you a pathetic story involving Kansas weed, said Oval. Is it a pathetic lie, said John. No, it's the truth. I swear on a stack of the Book of Gall. It involves an urban legend that was circulating some years ago to the effect that you could take bad weed and make it better. Hey, Jude, sang John, don't be afraid. Take some bad weed and make it better. Yeah, only in this story it was just a lame-brained scheme from the start. You better turn off the TV, I said. We don't want Pat to hear this. There were these guys I knew at Westminster. At least one of them lived in the dorm. They were going on a cross-country road trip that was taking them through Kansas. Now, they had heard this urban legend, and they had heard about the wild marijuana that grows along the side of the road in Kansas. Hemp, really, left over from the days when hemp was a cash crop for making stuff out of, before it got lumped in with real pot when it was made illegal, or rather taxed out of visibility. So these guys had the idea that they would stop and stuff the trunk of their car with this dirtweed that was still growing in Kansas, bring it back to Salt Lake, and try this process to make it better. Well, they did. They stopped along some highway in the middle of Kansas and pulled up or cut down a trunk load. Probably had to jump a fence to do it. I think they were driving a big old Chevy or something, so they must have had like 5 or 10 pounds of plants. And they drove back to Salt Lake with this trunk full of what probably would have been taken for actual marijuana if they had gotten searched. And the process was, as I can recall, that you would take the plants and put them in an oven at a certain temperature, and the plants would exude their resin or oil, which you could catch in pans. Then you would take a quantity of the leaves and infuse this oil back into it. And that was supposed to result, it was hoped, in good pot. So they took this huge amount of hemp plants to the house of one of their mothers when she was away and used her kitchen for this laboratory experiment. I watched this scene for a while, so I know it really happened. Luckily, at least I think, the mother didn't find out about this mad project. Sometime later, they brought some of the product to the dorm and we tried it out. Was it any good? Said Gal. It was terrible. I probably must have smoked about 5 joints trying to get a buzz and never did. I think they ended up throwing it all away. Or they may have taken it to Sugar House Park and sold it to kids. I hope not. That's a great story, man, said John. It must have been before the days of hash oil. They could have just taken the resin and smoked it by itself. Yeah, right. But really, I doubt if it would have been any good either. I mean, this was hemp, for Pete's sake. It's a totally different species. As far as I know, it doesn't have any THC in it at all. But the fantasy of getting free dope overtook their supposedly better intellect. Ah, the good old days, said Bev. Remember ounces of Mexican pot for just $10? They just chopped up the whole plant and stuffed it in a baggie. Called them lids, said John, although that term was a throwback to an earlier time. Hey, want to buy a lid? I said. You could practically just walk out on the street and somebody would offer it to you. I didn't realize Salt Lake was that kind of place, said Bev. Oh yeah, said Oval. By around 1970, you could get pretty much anything you wanted at the park. It was the crossroads of the West, you know. That's where I first saw Mr. Natural and other brands of blotter, Yellow Submarine and Barrel Acid, Mescaline, Psilocybin, even peyote and mushrooms. Nowadays it's not so wide open, I said, but you can still get those things if you try. The Sugar House Park scene is long gone, though. My goodness. And you are giving up a place like that to go start a church? You really are a noble couple. Not noble, said Oval. Ambitious with a fair amount of crazy mixed in. Right, kid? A lot of crazy, I'm afraid. Crazy like a fox, said John. What does that mean, said Gal. It means, like, you don't call a fox crazy when he is closing in on the hen house. Cunning is more like it. And hungry. 'Cause I'm hungry, Gal started. Hold it. Somebody already used that one. I think it was Oval. I didn't realize there was a one-use rule. Sorry. Just giving you a hard time. I don't make the rules. I'm going to bed, said Bev. Me too, I agreed. I don't think we can put this off another day, dear. I'm not putting it off, said Oval. I'm looking forward to getting there.
And so ends another reading from A Man Called Oval. These episodes follow this story exactly as it was written, complete and unabridged. Now, until next time, this is A.J.K. Waterbottomley speaking.